So, your party met the drowned sailors and made it out in one piece? Your group is invested in the story and wants to play more? Well, the Dragons of Shipwreck adventure is only just beginning. If you've flown past the drowned sailors encounter and are ready to take your party of stalwart adventurers on more exciting journeys, this video is for you. If you haven't run the first encounter yet, we highly recommend you check out that video. Lastly, if you're not the dungeon master, we suggest sitting this video out to avoid spoilers. It'll be way more fun if you're surprised. The first encounter in the adventure involved the party meeting the drowned sailors and deciding to either fight or flee. From there, they'll arrive at Dragon's Rest and meet the enigmatic Runara and the cloister's resident kobolds. Dragon's Rest will serve as a home base for the group, and although there are a host of characters to meet and quests to embark upon, it's worth letting the players know that there's no rush. They can explore the area at their own pace and return here to take on quests later in the campaign if they want to. Dragon's Rest should feel welcoming and safe, and a place they can retreat to for both rest and provisions. Exploring the island provides opportunities for the players to prepare for the rest of the adventure. Healing potions are a must. Maybe Myla the kobold or Tarek the local botanist could hook your party up with some if they cover a shift in the kitchens. Runara's temple offers a safe haven to recover or sleep off a busy day of adventuring. The library is also a great place to spend a few hours if the players want to read up on the island and the history of its residents, past and present. The adventure book is full of information to relay to your players, depending on what books they crack open. The map on page 11 will help you place all of the local characters and build a more vivid image in the heads of your group. There are plenty of quests, both large and small, detailed in the adventure book for you. But how do you draw your group's attention to them? It's not like there's a big glowing exclamation mark over your head, right? This is where you'll really get to use your imagination. For example, if your group fled from the zombies in the first encounter, you have a great hook to get them to explore the shipwreck outside after the troublesome zombies stumble their way into the cloister. If the zombies were defeated though, how would you get them to investigate it? Maybe they overhear Rix and Varmuth debating exploring the wreckage for salvage before asking the better equipped adventurers to do it instead. You can also rely on Runara as a central quest giver. Your group should want to help the cloister, and she can offer up the recent wreckage or trouble in the sea caves as breadcrumbs to lead the players to the other NPCs who know more. Ultimately, how you get this information to your players is up to you, and you can be as creative as you like. Whatever your player characters choose to do first, they still need to get from point A to point B. Whether they travel by foot or by boat, there are a few fun surprises in store for them as they explore Shipwreck Isle. Looking at the map of Shipwreck Isle on page 5, you can see that the main quests happen on different sides of the island. That gives you plenty of opportunities to throw in a few more fun encounters as your adventurers travel around. The great thing about side quests is that not only can they be completed at any time, but you can introduce one whenever you find your party is unsure of what to do. If they aren't sure of what to do next, why not nudge them towards the Sea Cave quest in the Cloister Quest section? Give your NPCs agency and maybe urgency. Tarek is eager to restore trade with the inhabitants of the Sea Caves, so he might approach the group directly to explain that he desperately needs more heart-cap mushrooms for his herbalism, and it would be appreciated if they helped him out. In addition to these quests, each player character has come to Shipwreck Isle with a personal goal in mind. If you want to, you can discuss these with your players before your first session, in case they want to add a bit of personal flavour to what's been written. Every player's quest is detailed under individual quests, and it might be a good idea for you to make notes on them so you remember when they might come up. These individual requests include opportunities for the players to get into the minds of their characters, explore their motivations, and do some roleplay. It's important each player gets this chance to explore too, so be mindful that one individual quest doesn't take over all the others. Remember, everyone should have a chance to shine, though it's even better when they do it together. Runara is the de facto leader of Dragon's Rest, spending her time up in the cloister and library. She is always there to help nurse your party back to health should anything dire happen. Runara is a great option to fall back on if your players are struggling with an encounter, or if they just have a really bad run of luck with their dice. If your group falls in battle, you can describe how Runara might come to their aid. While she avoids revealing her true nature, perhaps they awaken back in Dragon's Rest with her tending to their characters' wounds or muttering a prayer as they rest. Once the group are back on their feet, your players can explore more of what the island has to offer. Runara should be used sparingly in this way, as she's not there to fight the party's battles for them. But hey, everyone needs a little help sometimes, right? In Dragon's Rest, Tarek is pretty eager to reconnect with some old friends of his, the fungus folk of Seagrow Caves. They're rejecting his visits, and a fearsome guardian now bars the entrance. Taking on this quest, the player characters will approach a sea cave, which you can see on page 18. Depending on how they arrive, they may have to outsmart the tides as they approach. From there, they grapple with a fierce spore servant octopus, fight the blight that threatens the Myconids' farms, and slay horrible flying sturges that lurk in the dark. There are blue boxes of text accompanying these encounters for you to read out as the DM. Once inside, they'll meet the territorial Myconids. While some may leap to confront any threat, many of them are just too sick to act. It's still worth having their stat block handy just in case. To help them vent out their troubles in a very literal sense, the player characters must venture towards the source of the blight, the sulphurous fume drakes and foul energies that have spilled through from the elemental plane of fire. This chapter requires both might and manners, so if you want your players to take the peaceful route, remind them that brandishing blades and slinging spells at the front door might be seen as less than neighbourly. When the players complete this area, they'll be able to level up. The character sheets detail what happens when a character levels up, and this is a great boost to a player's confidence as they'll find themselves with more HP and some fun new abilities. If they happen to complete the Wreck of the Compass Rose first, then they'll be leveling up to level 3 instead, which means they're now ready to explore the Clifftop observatory. Your player characters will have already seen the effects of this second major problem for Dragon's Rest. Tides of the undead are spilling out of the shipwrecks just off the coast. Varnath and Rix can tell the players about the latest one and ask them to help find out what's causing it. In this sea-based chapter, there are several shipwrecks that the player characters can explore. While only the Compass Rose is fully built and mapped out within the book, there's an opportunity to both construct and explore underwater wrecks using the Compass Rose as a template. Down here, there may be giant octopi, more drowned dead, or any creature you desire. How far you go with it is up to you, just don't forget your stat blocks. This part of the adventure can be scaled up depending on what level the players are at. Details on where to scale things up are in the adventure. For example, if the players are already level 2 when they arrive on the Compass Rose, they might face 3 zombies on the lower deck rather than 1. The best part about any shipwreck, of course, is the treasure. If we take the crate on the lower deck as an example, the adventure has a table of potential goodies that the players can find here. As you can see, you'll need to roll a d6 to determine what they walk away with. At some point in the chapter, ideally when you start to feel as though the players are wrapping up, you can bring in the star of the show, the harpy. Or, if your players are already level 2, 2 harpies. As with many encounters with enemies in Dungeons & Dragons, this doesn't have to end in a fight. Harpies can be reasoned with, and there are bullet points in the adventure booklet detailing ways in which the group can outsmart them. How this plays out is ultimately up to you as the Dungeon Master. If the players try a particularly ingenious course of action that isn't in the book, you can decide if you want players to roll a charisma check or another appropriate ability check to determine their success. You'll be amazed at the creative ways players will get themselves out of a sticky situation. After saving Dragon's Rest from 2 major catastrophes and reaching level 3, Runara will confide in the players as trusted friends and reveal her true self. She'll point them to the Clifftop Observatory and hand them a moonstone key. With that, they should have all they need to approach the marble monument. Introduce them to the area depending on the approach that they take, using one of the blue boxes provided in the adventure book. The areas the players can access and the secrets they uncover can depend on the items and information they've gathered in the previous chapters. This is a collaborative experience though, and as the DM you'll find it's more fun for everyone if you give helpful nudges towards things the players will want to know and that will help them later, rather than punishing them for not asking the right questions and searching in the right places. The first encounter players will have at the Clifftop observatory will be with a group of hostile kobolds who can be convinced to impart their knowledge if the players roll well. They can even get the kobolds to help them on their journey if they're really lucky. The observatory has 5 locations for the players to explore, with the main area being the observatory tower, home to a sleeping sparkrender, an arrogant blue wormling who's made the tower his home. This presents the players with an important choice. Do they attempt to sneak past the wormling, or do they wake him? As with most encounters, even with seemingly hostile NPCs, combat isn't inevitable. Players who speak Draconic can try to reason with Sparkrender. As the DM, you don't need to nudge the players in a particular direction, just make it clear that there's more than one way to do things, and that there are no wrong answers. This chapter details how the players' decisions at this point will play out, including defeating Sparkrender, driving him away, and saving the imprisoned Adron. The Dragons of Stormwreck Isle adventure ends with the players at level 3, pockets bursting with treasures, with a sense of achievement from helping Runara and completing their own personal quests. As with all pre-written adventures, the fun doesn't end just because the adventure is over. You've now got tons of resources that you can use however you want. Maps can be reused as new locations, NPCs the players met on their journey can have new quests, stat blocks can be used for new characters. The possibilities are endless. Were there any side quests the group didn't get to? Quests like What Lies Beneath from the Dragon's Rest chapter have plenty of potential to become larger adventures. Shareth's tomb can be home to all manner of new foes, from kobolds to zombies. Rumours suggest that Shareth isn't actually dead, merely imprisoned beneath the island, so who knows what your players will find down there? Well, you will, of course. As Stormwreck Isle comes to an end, it might be good to find out what your players enjoyed most of and what they'd like to see more of. Did they love exploring shipwrecks, fighting zombies, traversing ruins? Well, you're in luck, because the only limit in Dungeons & Dragons is your imagination, and the starter set is yours to use for plenty of future adventures. There you have it. The Dragons of Stormwreck Isle adventure is bursting full of places to explore, characters to meet, and quests to embark upon, and the best bit is that even if your players don't get a chance to see everything, it isn't over. Whether the group wants to keep playing as their characters or try something new, there are so many possibilities to keep the magic of Stormwreck Isle going. So, good luck and happy adventuring!